Mr. Sujit Siddhasa. CA Devashish Mitra Sir.
Thank you, Dalila. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I hand over the session to the moderator.
So, we're going to start the second session, second technical session, and we have enough time. This session will go up to 5 p.m. So, I'll not deal in the subject as of now because I have in my two sides two very expert, one very renowned academician who has been my guru, my teacher, and on the other side is very renowned practitioner who has been thoroughly in the practice since last 2 decades probably. He has done his chartered accountancy, cost accounting, company secretary, PhD from one university or other, and whatnot. After that, maybe lot many other degrees also which we do not know. And from Northeast, he is one person. Wherever there is this kind of academic exercise, wherever there is a training for chartered accountants and the like, he is the one research person who is sought after. So that to this session deals with accounts and audit. So in this session, for the method moderator, it will not be nice like me to speak something on that. So I will directly give the dais to the experts here who will be speaking on the issue. So Mr. Devashish Mitra has some work in Delhi, in Guwahati, so he has to reach Guwahati by maybe 7 o'clock, so he will leave early. But before that, I would like to request Mr. Siddhar sir to introduce the topic first, maybe 10-15 minutes he can take, and then after that the detailed issues will be taken over by CA Mitra, and then he will take the questions and he may leave before the session ends. And afterwards, we will again take up with the Professor Sigidar. Okay? So first, Professor Sigidar, maybe 10-15 minutes for the introductory.
Perhaps there can be no other second person happiest in the world excepting myself. I may become a little bit emotional. Be that as it may, when we talk of auditing, assurance, accounting, my anxiety is with regard to professional ethics, with accounting as a discipline, responsibility, and then auditing and assurance. When I was a student, we studied only auditing. Assurance was not there. Subsequently, when we developed our course curriculum, I came across a beautiful masterpiece book by two of the chartered accountants, perhaps their husband and wife, Aina Puri and Aina Puri, Auditing and Assurance. This has been a Bible for our classroom teaching in our class. I read line by line and understand the implications of auditing, assurance. Then again, three more words have been added from the professional side. We call it certification, attestation. These are very responsible words, connotations applied in the field of auditing and assurance. And at the same time, we expect no expenditure is approved by the responsible authorities until and unless it is certified, it is attested by a qualified auditor, a chartered accountant in practice. What reminds me one beautiful thing with regard to this, I have brought some pieces of items for your understanding. I have brought here 2 pieces of medicine one by Lexanox, another by Olopet, and there is a symbol. I don't know whether you can see this symbol, Rx. Here also this packet contains Rx. And a medical practitioner, when he writes a prescription, he uses the first word Rx. There was a Greek physician, Hippocrates, who says, I quote, I treat, he cures. In medical science all over the world, in the first semester course, in the third semester course, in the fourth semester course, they study a subject called forensic science. Hippocratic oaths have been embodied within the course curriculum in medical colleges all over the world. I have brought a photograph of also Hippocrates. Perhaps I have the clean photograph of Hippocrates. Describing professional ethics, be it medical profession, be it auditing profession. We uphold the professional ethics in course of discharging our attestation function. This is a great challenge before the auditing profession, accountancy profession. This is the photograph of Hippocrates, the Greek physician. Greek has an ancient, beautiful history. When we perform Saraswati Puja, the Greek mythology has a system of worshipping Saraswati in Greek names. The king Zeus had a daughter called Minerva. Minerva is a god of all music, performing art and learning. So the Greek people worship Minerva. We, the Indian people, worship Lord or Goddess Saraswati. This is similarity between the two civilizations of the world. I cannot check my temptation to read out the Hippocratic oaths. Some of these oaths have been incorporated into your auditing profession. Hippocrates of Kos, C-O-S, Kos, was an ancient Greek physician of the age of Pericles, classical Greece, and is considered one of the most outstanding figures in the history of medicine. Hippocrates, born c. 460 BC, Kos, ancient Greece, died 370 BC, Trisa, ancient Greece. Hippocratic medicine was notable for its strict professionalism, discipline, and rigorous practice. The Hippocratic work on the physical recommends that physicians always be well and kempt, honest, calm, understanding, and serious. The Hippocratic physician pays careful attention to all aspects of his practice. He followed detailed specifications for lighting, I quote, lighting, personnel, instrument, positioning of the patient, and techniques of bending and splinting in the ancient operating room. He even kept his fingernails to a precise length for the purpose of performing operation. I was also told in course of my what is called research inquiry, the first country in the world which had undertaken brain surgery, it was in Egypt. They have unearthed some pieces of human skull having hole in the mid of the skull. They discovered that it is nothing but brain surgery done in Egypt, maybe 5,000 years ago. In medical course, they study these things. So I have borrowed from the medical course these Hippocratic oaths which a physician has to observe, some of which are relevant for our accountancy profession, auditing profession. In medical course, first semester, third semester, fourth semester, it has been inducted into this forensic science course. 6 A's. 6 A's. What are those 6 A's? 6 A's are, number 1, and you will relish it in your accountancy and auditing profession. Professional misconduct comprises of 6 A's. which are alcohol, adultery, advertisement, addiction, association, abortion. A for alcohol, a medicine practitioner cannot apply, prescribe, examine a patient under the influence of liquor. So is the case with accountancy profession. Second one, alcohol. Second one, adultery. We are very careful about examining the conflict of interest. It's very difficult. I have noted down the arguments put forward on behalf of Mr. Bindra to the Supreme Court in case between Board of Cricket Control of Bihar versus Board of Cricket Control of India. I will not name the person concerned, it's not ethical on my part, but the conflict of interest has been articulated by the Supreme Court. Auditor frequently comes across the cases of conflict of interest undertaking audit certification attestation. Second one, advertisement. Whenever we open pages, first 2 pages of Chartered Accountant Journal in India, whenever we get a copy of Chartered Accountant issued by AICP, American Institute, first 2 pages are devoted on ethics. What a Chartered Accountant should do, what a Chartered Accountant should not do on question-answer basis given in the first page. This is the high esteem of auditing profession. They make the members aware what you are supposed to do, what you are not supposed to do. Advertisement, they are not supposed to, even the type of advertisement they will put in their office chamber, that has been also prescribed by the regulating agency of the accountancy profession worldwide. Fourth, addiction. Although a doctor has an easy access to addictive drugs due to his profession, he should not indulge in the addiction for himself because his job is to protect the life of mankind, Hippocratic oath. Fourth, association. A chartered accountant or an auditor should not hold the shares of the company in which he is acting as an auditor. Am I correct? So it is, we call it in our English language, called the queen is above suspicion. The queen is above suspicion. Auditor cannot hold the shares, invest in the shares in the company in which he is going to accept the auditing job. So it is association. Sixth one is abortion. A medical man should, in course of Vatican City, dispose whether it is right or wrong. So we are confronted with ethics, merit. I even get excited when I see the French economist Jean Triolet, winner of 2014 Nobel Prize for Economics, was awarded the Nobel Prize for his research on market power and regulation that has helped policymakers understand how to deal with industries with oligopolistic companies. This is the contribution of the French economist with regard to respect the regulation, respect the profession, whether it is medicine profession, whether it is auditing profession. Respect has been mounted because of the social expectation, social regard and faith that has been put upon the auditing and accounting profession. We hire the experts. Just I will refer to 2-3 items within another 5 minutes time, then I will stop. My next slide is regard to, it is very difficult on the part of the auditor to certify, attest those kind of business activities. Flipkart, registered in Singapore, doing major part of the business in other parts of the country. How do you ascertain the tax liability? When we go through the regulations of transfer pricing agreement, the advanced pricing arrangement, we come across this conflictual situation. They do not pay value-added tax in this country. They are neither citizens of India, so citizen-based tax cannot be levied on them. Source-based tax cannot be levied because these are traceless, no physical existence. And there was a discussion in the tribunal of the, what is called in Karnataka, tribunal, they had a debate whether value-added tax can be levied. Karnataka government levied it. Tribunal has nullified it, cannot be. In the process, the profit from one country, from low tax region, is shifted to the high tax region. How will the auditor undertake to certify their books of accounts, business transactions? These are the challenges for these coming maybe 20-25 years this profession will be facing. We have got another mechanism of profit transfer called predatory pricing. I am not going to the details of the predatory pricing, but I have realized it, yes. This, what is called SpiceJet, fabulous discount has been issued to book all the accommodation in a car, depriving others, competitors in the market. Whether it is anti-competitive, again it will have to be scrutinized by quasi-judicial body like the Competition Commission of India. The auditor faces the threat of certifying this, whether it is with conflict of interest, whether it is a predatory pricing mechanism or not. Court and quasi-judicial body will examine these things. Another thing is there prevailing in this country, just I will mention it, then I will close, that is called royalty payment. Who fixes the royalty? For an expertise service I am hiring from other country. Profit is shifted in the name of royalty payment from maybe low tax region to high tax region, from high tax sovereignty, low tax sovereignty. This kind of things are taking place. Finally, which I have gathered, there is no law can change it. What can change is the morality. I go back to Hippocratic oath, Hippocratic ethics. Before I close, I pay my tribute. I request all of you to pay your tribute from your respective places to this father of ethical science of the world, the Greek physician Hippocrates. I pay my tribute to Hippocrates. I thank you very much for giving me patient hearing.
He was quoting alcohol and that see there should not be other things. He was blessed when he was saying all this. And he was moving from one topic to another. Sometimes he was talking about auditing standards. But what was in my mind all the time was, sir took out 2 bottles of medicine. Now, is this, what we're going to hope to speak? When we speak, and there is an accounting standard, I'll come to this. It talks about substance over form. What is the substance over form? When he was using the 2 bottles to show you, it was all, how does he want to show? Talking about the board, and then he was going to the papers and so many copious notes, he was going to substance. We all noted the form that he was using this. But the accountancy law says that what is important is substance and not so much form. It should be always accounting what? Always substance over form. But most of us who want to gain attention of the audience in a post-lunch session, we always go for form over substance. Because otherwise we cannot gain attention of the students or of the audience. Coming back, since many of you are students, you must have seen sir making notes, and when I was coming in, I was taking Dr. Das, that's so much of notes, he will take at least 1.5 hours. Because he has worked so hard at it. But he worked hard at it. You see, he was trying to have difficulty in finding out which page to see, and he was looking at the pages. What I advise you to do? Not sir, sir is too good. Use technology. You don't use technology, you don't have to. I'm using technology. I'm using PowerPoint. I don't have to use looking at notes. I don't have to. Technology is yours. Only learning the book is not enough, and you do technology. And people like us, when we see computers, we had already passed chartered accountancy without knowing computers. Many of us, it was a harrowing time. We are incomplete technological. We try to grapple with technology. For some, that was more difficult, grappling with technology, with the PowerPoint and everything. But for even for me, it is difficult. But for you all, without technology, you cannot survive. Understand what I am saying. I will start by making 1 or 2 points about audit, and then I'll move to accounts. Because accounts is very, very important, I think for all of you. First line, I think you'll have to help me out from there. And this appointment is subject to ratification every year. So this year, but this appointment next year, when the appointment comes for review, is subject to ratification. notification by the shareholders. So please note that things have changed in the company that you have to get appointed for 5 years. The company has to appoint for 5 years. That's the first rule of the game. That's how it has changed. Right? So that is number one. Number two, can I have, if you can go and tell you, yeah, move very fast. Move. Can we have the next one? This category, oh, sorry. In case of these categories of companies, you need to, yes. An auditor cannot remain, if you are an individual, you cannot be an auditor of a firm for more than, company for more than 5 years. If you are a firm of chartered accountants, you cannot be an auditor for more than 10 years. For these categories of companies, for these categories, that is, they are talking about rotation. Sir was talking about transparency. Sir was talking about, independence. You see, they have said that if you are going to have independence and rotation, so for these categories of companies, you have to rotate. That is, if you are an individual practitioner, you can be an auditor for 5 years. If you are not an individual practitioner, if you are a firm, you can be an auditor. If you are not auditor of these categories of companies, then you can be an auditor for any period of time. There is no time limit. There is no limit of time for which you can be an auditor. Right? Can I have the next one? Moving a bit fast, if you could have the next one. It says that if you are going to be an auditor, you cannot do any of these areas. That is, if I am going to be a statutory auditor, I cannot be an accountant. I cannot start writing books of accounts. Because they are saying that once you start writing books of accounts and hope to be an auditor, you cannot do internal audit, also hope do the statutory audit. Because in that case also, you see, your independence is not there. Right? So they are saying you cannot do any design and implementation of any financial information system if you want to be an auditor, statutory auditor. Right? They are saying actuarial service, investment advisory services, investment banking services, if you are hoping to provide this kind of service to a company, in that case, you cannot be a statutory auditor. They are saying if you are going to be saying this, they are saying this because what happens over a period of time, Government of India is of the belief that people they go on to become auditors, and then if the audit fees is 5,000, the consultancy is 1 lakh. Once a company pays you consultancy fees, which is 10 times the audit fees or 20 times the audit fees, you are relying on the consultancy fees to survive. Consequently, your independence is threatened. Because you think that if I write against the company in my auditor's report, then my consultancy might go. So I will not write against the company in the auditor's report. So that's why they are saying, the Government of India, that you choose that you want to be an auditor or you want to be a consultant. And if you want to be a consultant, stay as a consultant. Don't dabble with audit. So that's the first rule of the game, right? So, I think I use this. Raise your hand. How many of you know how to prepare cash flow? You prepare cash flow? Don't. See, how you do? The lady there? You do? If you know how to prepare cash flow, which accounting standard do you refer to when you prepare cash flow? Next wala sawal. Which accounting standard do you refer to? There is only one accounting standard which talks about a cash flow. Which accounting standard do you refer to when you are preparing a cash flow? Now see, all the hands have gone down. All the hands. Are still sitting here? Who is it? Yeah? No. See, I think you are a teacher, man. Are you? Oh yeah, you are a teacher. I am with the students at the present moment. Why? Did she say, is it because she said 3? Huh? You know? Very good. If it is 3 talks about 2 methods of preparing cash flow. Can you mention the 2 methods of preparing the cash flow? Very good. Impressed. 3 also says which is a preferable method out of direct and indirect. Direct or indirect? Everything now is direct. People say indirect is not the right way to do. Indirect or direct? Direct? Huh? You said indirect earlier. You have changed your opinion now? Huh? Direct or indirect? Indirect is this, but she's saying direct. Hey, anybody who disagrees with him? Anybody who disagrees with him? He's saying that indirect method is the best method of preparing cash flow. That's what you're saying? Oh, you said direct method is the best method of preparing cash flow.
But indirect is easier.
No.
I said that.
I'm confused. What will be the method you are recommending to the students? Direct or indirect? As for AS3. As for AS3, what you will be recommending? AS3 says which method?
Direct.
Direct method. So AS3 says that the direct method is the best method to prepare the cash flow. Who disagrees with you? Huh? So nobody is going to disagree with you. They disagree with you. Mark cut jayega. Disagree करने से. Huh? Anybody who would like to disagree with him, raise your hands. Forget the fact that he is a teacher. I could also be wrong. Indirect? Who said indirect? Raise your hands with great disdain. Sir, medicine के बारे में बातचीत कर रहा था. See, do you require medicine to give away? No. You require? Right. Raise your hands. Who disagrees with him? Sir, what's your name, sir? Mr. Day. So, who wants to disagree with Professor Day? Or who dares to disagree with him? Your exams are coming up. Right? Sir? So, anybody who dares to disagree with Professor Day, tell me. He says that the AS3 says, accounting standard 3 says that direct method is the best method of preparing cash flow. Sir, ऐसा नहीं होगा. With great respect to him, you see, you must never be misled by what I say. The accounting standard says that indirect method is the best method of preparing, which he had said earlier. Because I went this side, I went this side, I went this side, you see, he thought that I was direct. I said that he thought that I was giving him a hint. No! AS3 is very categorical. Indirect method is the best method of preparing a cash flow. Once he's right, he was totally right in the first point. The whole idea is, if the knowledge is going to be strong, you must stick to your position, irrespective of what the other person says. But you, for sticking to that position, your knowledge level has to be very, very good. I appreciate that. He said the right thing. He thought that, you see, since I am talking about direct, so I have been wrong. Right? So indirect method. Cash flow is going to be very, very important in the scheme of things. They are saying most companies will now be required to prepare cash flow. The university must make it a point to teach cash flow to students. And when it teaches cash flow, AS3 instead of chartered accounting, it has made great contribution. See, behind AS3, there are two examples. How to prepare with all what take that as an example, teach that to the things are going to be very difficult. Very risky affair. Today Rohit and we are all sitting and discussing all this, and we were saying that it's going to be tough from 1450 onwards. Very, very, attest function is going to be so tough. It's going to be so tough. We move this side, God. The only thing that is going to make us survive, make us do well is knowledge. Whatsoever. Ethics. Whatsoever. Because it's the government of India stepping in. Since all of you are students of commerce, some of you hope to be chartered accountants someday. That's how it is. Right? See where we stand with the audit report. Look at the penal consequences. Look at the penal consequences for auditors. This is the penal part. If I make any report to deceive anybody, 1 year jail. In addition to fraud. 1 year jail. Simply. And I have to repay all the fees that I have earned. Right? Pay damages. This is Companies Act 2013. People, they say this is not Companies Act 2013, this is Chartered Accountants Act 2013. because they have targeted the top of the source. That's how it is. Half an hour, I take only accounts. Right? In the Companies Act, as in the Companies Act 2013. Is there any definition of financial statements in the Companies Act 1956? Can somebody tell me?
No.
Huh? No? Who said that? I would like to hear. Yes, you said no. How do you, what makes you think it's no? Anybody who disagrees with it and says that there is a my question is very clear. Is there any definition of financial statements in the Companies Act 1956? I'm talking about the Companies Act 1956. He says that there is no definition of financial statements in Companies Act 1956. Anybody would like to disagree with him that there is a definition of financial statements? Right? He's totally right. There is no definition of financial statements in the Companies Act 1956. Companies Act 2013 says that the financial statements need to be defined. They have defined what are financial statements. Balance sheet, PL, cash flow, statement of changes in equity. If Ind AS comes, that I will, if I have time, I'll speak to it and then explanatory statements. See, this is a definition of financial statements given in section 2, subsection 40 of the Companies Act 2000. Basic things, most of you will say that we already know about this. When you prepare balance sheet and PL, there is a schedule which we follow. What is the schedule? Huh? Schedule 6. Revised Schedule 6. Right? Can I, now that revised Schedule 6 under the Companies Act has become Schedule 3 now. It has been renumbered. It is no longer Schedule 6. The Companies Act 2013 has made it Schedule 3. Right? It's no longer Schedule 6. Under the Companies Act from 1415, you will have to refer that Schedule 6 to as Schedule 3. If I say this, will I be right? This statement. I am taking basic points. The revised Schedule 6 contains the format of the balance sheet, PL and cash flow statement. Am I right or am I wrong? The revised Schedule 6 contains the format of the balance sheet, the PL and the cash flow statement. Am I correct or am I wrong? Correct. These are basic things. Correct? Who says I am wrong? I said do not go by whatever I say. The revised Schedule 6 contains the format of the balance sheet, the PL and the cash flow statement. Am I correct? Be very careful about whatever you say. I am already warning you.
Balance sheet and PL.
Balance sheet and PL? Yes, sir. And anybody else who is disagreeing with these two gentlemen? Anybody? They are saying I am wrong because revised Schedule 6 does not contain the format of cash flow statement. That's what they are saying. That's what you are saying, right? And I am saying it contains the format of a cash flow.
No.
Are they wrong or am I wrong?
You are wrong.
Huh?
You are wrong.
Who says that I am right? Anybody? Anybody who has some kind of sympathy for me and says that I am right? Excellent. I am extremely impressed by your answers. Very, very good. Top class. Many people, they cannot answer this question. Very, very good. Dr. Das taught them well. Very nice. Very good. The balance sheet under the revised Schedule 6 contains both horizontal and the vertical. The balance sheet format under revised Schedule 6 contains both horizontal format and vertical format of the balance sheet. Yes.
Financial statement.
What is that?
Financial statement will be all the subsidiaries and all that.
Financial statements?
Subsidiaries.
Holding company and?
Subsidiary company.
Holding company and subsidiaries. Right?
Parent company and subsidiaries. All as
Parent company and subsidiaries. Very good. Now, since you have said this, what is the accounting standard which goes in this? Now, what is the accounting standard which is listed on how to do it? Well, because everything is now guided by accounting standard. It is not that the Devashish Mitra in the morning wakes up and says that this is CFS. No! What does the accounting standard say about this? That is the most important thing. Can anybody name me the accounting standard which deals with CFS? The mother accounting. There are a lot of accounting standards which deals with CFS. The mother accounting standard which deals with CFS. The point is, I want to see that all of you know the importance of accounting standards. The mother accounting standard which deals with CFS. इसमें स्टार्ट हो गया 21. What's your age now? Your age is 21. No. All right. How did you get 21? Anything else? You're convinced with 21? Convinced with 21 or not? No. You see, I don't even understand whatever I said. I said that have faith in yourself. Have faith in your own knowledge. Forget about what I say. It doesn't matter. This is 21.
So section 129.
Who said section 129? मैं हिस्ट्री का सवाल पूछा, आपने ज्योग्राफी का जवाब दिया. No, I'm saying what is not section 129. I'm saying that he said what is the accounting standard name number? Give me the accounting standard number. Tell me, sir. Professor Day, you see, he will not help, and I don't want him to answer. Yes. How did you find out 21? You have crossed 21 years, or now how did you find out 21? Tell me, how did you find out 21? Tell me, how did you find out 21? पढ़ा कहीं, पढ़ा मैंने कभी बोला नहीं, पढ़ा कहीं पढ़ा? First semester. Did they say 21? Anybody who would like to disagree with me? The two ladies there, madam? You, huh? I said mother. 27 is also this thing, but I said the mother standard. The mother standard is 23, 27, but I said mother standard. It's a mother standard. Anybody? There are two methods of charging depreciation. Straight line and what is the schedule in the Companies Act 1956 which talks about depreciation? Schedule number in the Companies Act 1956 which talks about depreciation. Yes, schedule 2 यहाँ में लिखा हुआ है. It's good to be intelligent, but not too much smartness is not good. Right? There are people like me who are aware of what is happening. Right? The whole idea, ladies and gentlemen, is if you're going to learn a new thing, you must smile more often. You must enjoy the whole thing. If you're going to enjoy the whole thing, you're going to retain. Note that. All of you are smiling in a post-lunch session when you should be feeling very sleepy. Right? If you're smiling and enjoying and having a great time, the chances are that you will retain all these things when you go out. And I have vested interest. If you retain all this, you will remember the That's the vested interest I have. Right? So that's how it is. Okay? So, what is the schedule number in the Companies Act 1956 which deals with depreciation? Sir? Hold on, sir. Schedule 2, again, you see, I will not catch hold of you. Schedule 2 is, I said, the Schedule 2 is the schedule for Companies Act 2013. I said the Companies Act 1956. Schedule 6. इतना अच्छा सवाल का जवाब दिया Schedule 6 के बारे में, उसके बाद वापस वो Schedule 6 नहीं. There's a schedule called Schedule 14. Schedule 14, you must know, that is Companies Act 1956. It has become archaic now. No longer applicable from 1415. From 1415, what is applicable is Schedule 2. Right? From 1415 financial year onwards, Schedule 2 is applicable. Okay? Now, what are they saying? There's a game changer in Schedule 2. Now they're saying, in the earlier schedule, Schedule 14, what you said? All of you said, WDV rate or straight line. what you used to do? You used to have a depreciation rate on the WDV, you used to apply the depreciation rate, find out the depreciation, and that is to be depreciation for your accounts. Right? Under the Income Tax Act, there is a separate depreciation rate, which is usually higher than the depreciation rate given in the accounts. But I will not go to income tax. Now they are saying from 14, 15, if you are going to prepare accounts, the good old days are gone. They are saying, आप इस टेबल को 100 रुपया में खरीदे, 100 रुपया में खरीदे. They're saying that this is the way of charging depreciation now from 14, 15. The value of this table hypothetically is 100 rupees. They are saying, find out what is the useful life of this table. If the useful life of this table is say 10 years, then they are saying distribute the value of the table over a period of 10 years. Right? So, distribute the value of this table over a period of 10 years. Have you understood the concept? Now, once I say this, the question that might come to your mind is SLM getting compulsory? Because whatever I said, it looks very familiar to the SLM system. SLM means what? Equal distribution of depreciation over a period of time. Right? That's SLM. So the question will arise, is the new Companies Act, are they advocating SLM? The Companies Act is saying, we are not advocating any kind of depreciation method. You use any depreciation method, recognized depreciation method of your choice. But what we are saying, if the value of this table is 100, distribute this over a period of 10 years. Charge depreciation. You can use WDV. Now you may ask me, WDV, how will I do that? Is there a mathematical formula? If you Google, you'll find there is a mathematical formula how you can distribute this over a period of 10 years. Now, the second question that they are saying. Have you understood the concept? Now they are saying 100 rupees, if 100 rupees is the cost of this table, they are saying don't depreciate the entire 100 rupees. Out of this 100 rupees, please keep 5% aside as the residual value of this table. Right? Very good. All of us smiling. 5% aside as the residual value. That is, from 100, if I reduce 5, it is 95 rupees. And they are saying 95 rupees, please distribute over a period of 10 years. Right? That's what they are saying. Have you all understood this? Very simple. Even a class 5 person should also understand. Right? But the difficulties now come. See what has happened on this? Now. The first thing, from where do I get the useful life? Who tells me what is the useful life of every asset? So they are now, Government of India is telling us that from 14-15, we are going to give you the useful life. It is like they have given useful life. Building, 60 years. For all the assets, they have given useful life. So the Government of India is saying, we will give you the useful life. They have already given the useful life and it is there in schedule. Right? Okay. Any questions at this stage on this? They have given useful life. And they say 5% residual value. The question arises, can I challenge the Government of India and say that Mr. Sarkar might say, this building, Government of India say 60 years. He might say, no, 50 years. He might say, no, 60 years this building will not last. I have taught in this building, I have seen what is happening, it will not last 50 years. Or he might say, I am very impressed with this building. It will not only last 60 years, it will last 80 years, 90 years, 100 years. And he might also argue, who is Government of India to tell me it is 60 years? वो कोई ज्योतिषी है वहां बैठ के कि ये 60 years, हर एक बिल्डिंग का अपना अपना वैसे लाइफ हो सकता है. Understood? When this was framed, this Schedule 2, the Government of India did not realize that a huge controversy will crop up regarding their useful life. People, they challenged the Government of India. They said that you cannot have useful life according to your own choice. Now the Government of India, by way of a notification issued on the 31st of March, they have said, you can have a useful life which is different from the useful life that is given in the schedule. He was talking about accounts, notes on accounts. And he was saying, whenever in doubt, disclose. Who said this? जयदीदा हम बोला कि फेमस है बोले जयदीदा तो फेमस है हाँ क्यों और दूसरा नहीं है whenever in doubt disclose कौन बोला you see those of us who follow this dictum we are safe even the auditors we insist on disclosure नहीं तो who said that you are teaching here and what did you say your name was?
Sir, my name is Plavandute Puragoy Borko.
Can we have a round of applause for Mr. Very good. Do not forget Alan. Whenever in doubt, disclose. Right? So, now they're saying, you don't agree with this, take the trouble of disclosure. Take the trouble of disclosure. Right? Now, the issue has, now they are also talking about something called, Sir knows it when we had done the, say, PhD on IFRS, componentization. What is componentization? And this is the dangerous area. The componentization is, they are saying, suppose a machine you have purchased. And machine has a part, the cost of the machine is 10 lakhs. The machine has a part B, part A in the machine, which is distinguishable, and the cost of that part is 4 lakhs. That is, the machine's total cost is 10 lakhs, out of which there is a part embedded in the machine, whose cost is 4 lakhs, and whose useful life is different from the useful life of the machine. For example, if the machine has a useful life of 25 years, this part has a useful life of 30 years. But this part of the machine. Machine's cost is 10 lakhs. In that machine there is a part A, which costs 4 lakhs. That means part A is 4 lakhs, other parts is 6 lakhs, 4 plus 6 is 10. Machine has a useful life of 25 years. This part A has a useful life of 30 years. This part A is distinguishable from the main machine. They are saying in this case, componentize. What is componentize? They are saying charge depreciation separately for 6 years, for 6 lakhs, and charge depreciation separately for the 4 lakhs. सर इसका कितना बड़ा ऐसे ये होगा हर एक मशीन के अंदर में हम लोग को देखना पड़ेगा कि उसका अंदर में कितना is there any part which has a life which is different from the life of the whole machine and which is very significant value can we have it. Once, and the government of India in this schedule 2 they wrote every company shall do this, that is shall componentize, right? For example, I'll give you. You have a mic here. You have the table here. The chances are that in your books of accounts, Devojit is not here. Devojit, I think he advises on the accounts. In your books of accounts, this whole thing, including the mic, must have been taken as one piece of furniture. The chances are that it has a 10 years life. Say suppose. Now, what government of India is now saying? Distinguish this from this. This will have a separate useful life. This will have a separate useful life. So now we have to go back to the accounts and find out what was the value of this, what was the useful life of this, and what was the useful life of this. And distinguish. That is called componentization. Right? Once this thing happened, almost the whole of corporate India was again up in arms against this rule. They said that it will be totally difficult to do this kind of componentization. It will be, see, this huge study has to be made about all our assets. The government of India has now said that, you see, look, IFRS recommends this. But they said, look, whatever it is, but it is not possible to do such a huge exercise. And they were saying that this kind of componentization exercise has to be done for every company, small company. If Mr. Sharad Agarwal is the auditor, please find out from the machine which is a significant part, having a different life, charge depreciation separately for that, and charge depreciation separately for the remaining part of the machine. Can you understand how big it is going, how difficult and complicated? The whole of corporate India, almost all the chambers of commerce, they told the government of India, not possible to implement. Only big companies which has very good accounting system could implement this, otherwise not possible to implement. Government of India has now said, looking at the practical situation, practical difficulty, for 1 year they have deferred implementation of componentization. That is, no componentization will be required for 14-15. But they said from 15-16 onwards, componentization would become compulsory. So, componentization, how difficult it is. Things are going to get difficult. You need to have mathematical formula. You need to have great reliance on the information technology. Otherwise, you cannot do it. Now, you tell me this. I have given you the scheme of things. 31st of March 2014, a particular case study. 31st of March 2014, there is this table is there. This table, written down value of this table as on 31st March 2013 is 30 rupees. 2014. On 1st of April 2014, the written down value of this table is, don't write anything, just understand and enjoy. The written down value of this table on 1st of April 2014 is 30 rupees. The table's useful life as per schedule 2 is say 20 years. As per schedule 2. Right? Say 20 years. Now, you have to charge depreciation for 14-15. How will I charge depreciation? Other things were easy, I have told you how to do it. How will I charge depreciation? Very, deduct 5% of 30 rupees? 5%? What did he say? 5% of 30 rupees. Please note, 1 minute, very good, no problem. You see, when you deduct, divided by? Huh? If you want, you can ask me further information. If you say that this information you have to provide for me to charge depreciation, it is 25 rupees. And if I am following SLM, then it will be 2 rupees 50 paisa every year. Have you understood that? How to charge depreciation? If you have understood the funda of this, raise your hand. I am really not understood. Everybody? Abhi hum sawal puchega. Right? So the point is, please written down value, distribute that over the balance period. Who have not understood this? ये फंडा के समझ में आ गया तो ठीक है. This one will do. So please note, this is crucial to the whole thing. So I'll come back in 5 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. I'll just take to recall. Number 1 talks about balance sheet. Here it talks about balance sheet and a profit and loss account and a cash flow statement. I will say section 2 subsection 40 of the Companies Act 2013 defines financial statements as to include a balance sheet, a profit and loss account, a cash flow statement, a statement of changes in equity, and explanatory statement. Down below. Am I right in whatever I am saying? Who said? You said? No, I said that. All right. Now, since I said that, look, you said, do not go by whatever I am saying. But you said I am right. I repeat. The financial statements as defined under section 2 subsection 40 is balance sheet, profit and loss account, cash flow statement, and others and others. Right? Is it right? Two more. One and 2 more. कहाँ गड़बड़ हो गया मेरा? Schedule. What I would say is, since you ask me this question. What I would suggest is, you go for the examples that are given after AS3. After AS3 accounting standards with the examples given of direct method of preparing the same figure. They have taken direct method and indirect method. And they have explained why it is easier. Please go for the example. Right? Okay. AS3, CFS, Consolidated Financial Statements becoming mandatory. And the accounting standard is AS21. Right? And the Schedule 2. The stress is on useful life. Right? The stress is on useful life. That those days of having a depreciation rate and where we can calculate with the use of depreciation rate is gone. Finished. No longer there. Right? So that is how it is. That is how it is. It's a game changer. Things are changing. Totally. And I appreciate that the School University is organizing programs on the company. Very, very good. Because if you don't organize program today, when you organize? 3 years later. When, see, many of you will pass out and you see, you will talk about Companies Act 1956, which has nothing to do now. Because when 14-15 Companies Act 2013 is going to be there. Right? So, if you have understood these basic things, I think you are in safe waters. I think you are in safe waters, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. At the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India level and at the professional level, we are all struggling to interpret and to report. I might have made it very simple for many of you, but let me tell you, when you go and report in real life situation, it is not at all simple. Very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. Right? But the whole idea is to understand the concept. If you have understood the concept, it's very, very good. You can pick up anything. So, it is now 10 minutes past 4. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have enjoyed the whole thing. Yes. Right? So, you see, if you have enjoyed, retain it. And if you are going to retain it, it is going to be your friend throughout your life. Right? And let me tell you my own opinion about, you see, speaking here. I think many of you, and I think so many of you are already graduate students, become students I think, you seem to be knowing a lot of things which other people don't know. Right? Fantastic. From my side, yes sir? Yes ma'am?
Most of them are MBA students.
Oh, but even if you are MBA students also, you are not supposed to know a lot of things. You see, the Narayan Murthy one was, you see, because basically we are, I wanted to know the general knowledge, but otherwise, say AS3 you came to know, somebody said about indirect method, and AS21, somebody said, I was not expecting AS21 as an answer. Very, very good. Excellent. So many of you are, I've been told that most of you are MBA students. So that is fantastic. That's fantastic. So keep up this spirit of enjoyment. Right? Keep up this spirit of enjoyment. If you're going to enjoy this subject, you're going to retain. If it's a big drag, you're not. I was only looking around for the person who was sleeping today. When I was moving about, because I have this bad habit of just standing next to the person who is sleeping and suddenly asking him a question. And I want to see how he suddenly wakes up and he doesn't know what is happening. Right? But I was moving about and he did not find anybody. And many people, they sleep in a lecture. Let me tell you this. Right? But I am extremely happy that none of you slept. And you see, you all people smiling and enjoying the whole thing. From my side, a great pleasure. This is speaking to many of you. I hope to come back again sometimes if God is with us. And thank you very much.
So that it becomes very easy life for us for the whole semester. Here, two gurus are sitting here. Ask questions and keep mark from tomorrow onwards. Tomorrow onwards, do not ask me and Sarkar sir and ma'am any questions. Please, questions please. I know that in morning sessions also I could not give much time. There will be some questions on the morning sessions also, but there are a lot of people here to answer. Please.
Since all these stalwarts from accounting background are there, still when we start teaching at BCom level, since our syllabuses are prescribed, so we start from sole proprietorship, partnership, and there we have to teach the vertical balance sheet, not vertical, sorry, horizontal, and the profit and loss account. So what is your view? Is there any need of modification, or for clearing the basics we can go with it? So I just want to seek your
Madam,
opinion.
let me tell you, I am for a sole proprietorship as well as a partnership. I can prepare my balance sheet on vertical basis. I hope you'll agree with me on this. I can prepare. So why not prepare? Because prepare the balance sheet and use a profit and loss statement term there. Why not do this? Because in that process, you are getting your students ready to face the challenges of preparing a financial statement under the Companies Act 2003. I would strongly recommend that you teach them under the vertical.
Actually, I'm asking this question. The syllabus of this university, I have gone through the syllabuses of other universities as well. Same thing is there.
Yes, yes. But you know, what has happened is this. React instantly. Even there we struggle to react at times. For example, our guidance note on how to do audit is still not out. Even though we'll have to do the audit as early as April 2015. Right? But the issue is how quickly are you reacting to change? Today it is how quickly you react to change and adapt to change. And I would suggest, and I was speaking at Guwahati University on Sir knows, I said the same thing. You must adapt to change. Then only the students will remain relevant. Otherwise the students will never ever remain relevant. But when you adapt to change, madam, what happens? You have to study.
Exactly.
If there is a teacher like you, for example, who is willing to study, know new things, and implement that here, maybe the syllabus level or whatever, there will be people who will be appreciating your efforts. That's how it is. Always. That's how it is always. You see, but doing something new is always difficult. When I started speaking on Companies Act, it was always difficult because I had to interpret myself what exactly they're talking about. But once I got the grasp of that, things became easy.
Yeah,
So that's how it is.
books on that so that we can prescribe the students also. There is scarcity of books also in the market whereby the new changes have been accommodated. Still we get the new edition of the books and revised versions 21st version, but horizontal way of doing things. I mean horizontal method of preparing balance sheet and all. So there is scarcity of books also. So here I would request the practitioners also to come forward and help us out.
But
Thank
madam,
you.
if I tell you something, teach the students, but it's a reference book. We use it, it's in our practice. The latest edition of this book is going to be out, or is already out. I would suggest that you keep that book in the library. It will cost you about 12,000-13,000 rupees. You keep that book in the library. That's as per the Companies Act 2013. So that's why I'm not recommending the students to purchase. You can keep that in the library. That's how it is. Thank you.
So my thing is that I just downloaded Companies Act 2013 recently from MCA, this Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So right now you said that this profit and loss statement we say generally now. But the thing is that what I downloaded, it says profit and loss account.
No, what has happened is this. Very good. The revised Schedule 6, which is the Schedule 3 now. The format that has been given there, they are writing profit and loss statement. Because you see the definition comes from the revised Schedule 3 that is there. Right? So it is profit and loss statement there. You see the Schedule 3 there, open the Schedule 3, there is a format there. Since you have this thing in front of you, you have the format there. See what is written there.
There's a discrepancy. Section says something and...
I have understood what he is saying. In fact, you see the government of India has been told to make a change there, the profit and loss account that they have said. Because it's never going to be profit and loss account anymore. It's going to be profit and loss statement. What does Schedule 3 say?
So actually it's very loose, sir. It is almost from 484 pages.
Okay. All right, you see it? But I'm 100% sure it is that.
No, there is, Mr. Kapoor has already said that there are a lot of amendments going on, there are a lot of notifications implementing the Companies Act. So there will be...
No, there will be a lot of changes. But you must do the basics. If you got the basics right, if you know the changes have come through, I see, then it's a big first step. You have a topic on Companies Act in this thing for the MBA students? Corporate laws. Corporate laws.
For BCom students, there was a 230 course in 5th semester.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Very good. All right. Anything else? Just call now.
So, very good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, Siddhar sir actually is just like a furtherly figure for the commerce in the Northeast. So I was the student. I was the student of Sikdar sir. Mitra sir, probably sir has just mentioned that he was also the student. So all are the student of the Sikdar sir. So we got the opportunity to ask the question. So sir, my question is.
This question is towards the grandfather?
No, to the stalwarts. So my question is like, we are talking about the globalization and all. We are following the accounting standard given by the ICAI, as well as the accounting standard given by the NACAS, National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standards. All right. We are talking about the harmonization. At the same time, the different accounting standards giving the different accounting standards. So at the same time, the IFRS, International Finance, when our country will follow the international accounting standard, Pakistan follow the Pakistan accounting standards, America follow US GAAP. So when there will be true harmonization, so one accounting standard in the globe.
Okay. Now, what is to a great extent? IFRS, the Indian version is called Ind AS, is going to be applicable voluntarily from 1516 to select categories of companies and compulsorily from 1617. So they are bringing this, now they are implementing this. From 1516 voluntarily for select categories of companies and from 1617 compulsorily for these select categories of companies. So they are bringing this harmonization. By this time in the budget speech, Mr. Arun Jaitley has announced this. And the Ministry of Corporate Affairs are already taking steps in association with the Institute of Chartered Accountants. So they are doing that. Now, but even with IFRS or Ind AS, in the Indian version of IFRS, coming into being, you'll still have two sets of accounting standards. One accounting standard applicable to the IFRS compliant companies or Ind AS compliant companies, and another set of accounting standards which is applicable to other companies which are not IFRS or Ind AS compliant. This happens all over the world. For smaller companies, you have a separate set of accounting standards which are simpler in nature. For bigger categories of companies, you have a set of accounting standards which are more globalized. India is also following the same route. So basically from now on, you will have two sets of accounting standards. One which will be the Ind AS applicable to select categories of companies, and a set of accounting standards applicable to the other companies. That's how it is.
Why does India will follow the IFRS?
Alright, why India should follow? Because what has happened is, the medium and the small size companies, the disclosures under IFRS is onerous. Very, very difficult to comply with IFRS. Right? So the disclosures under that IFRS and Ind AS is onerous. So the smaller and the medium sized companies have always complained that why do you want us to comply with IFRS, because we have no global exposure. If I am a company which is a MNC, you can ask me to comply. If I am using public funds, if I am a listed company, you can ask me to comply. But if I am not using public funds, if I don't have global exposure, you cannot force me to comply, and in the process enhance my compliance cost of maintaining accounts. Because IFRS or Ind AS, if you have to comply, it is very expensive. Right? So with that argument there on the plate now, that's why Government of India is in the initial stages implementing Ind AS only for select categories of companies. Then they will see how far it can go from there.
And we have another approval from the IASB with regard to what is called partial convergence. Full convergence is not possible for many countries of the world, maybe because of the system differences in economic system. A kind of communist countries may not find it appropriate to follow totally IFRS. So there is permissible limit from the even IASB with regard to full convergence, partial convergence. We are doing for one set for domestic companies without any global exposure, another set of things for companies having global exposure.
And please note here, you must note two words when he's talking of partial convergence. India has not adopted, that is, they have not copied the whole IFRS. Unlike Bhutan, for example, they have copied the whole IFRS. What India is talking about is convergence. They are saying that we will take IFRS and try to converge that with the Indian accounting standards. In the process, they have left out some portions which are there in the IFRS, in the Ind AS that they have developed. Whenever they have left out, these are called carve-outs. C-A-R-V-E-O-U-T-S. So there are a lot of carve-outs in the Indias as compared to IFRS.
My question is regarding articles of association. So the thing is that whether every company is required to alter its article of association as per the new format under Companies Act, this one 2013, because they have done already in 1956 and after that. So right now again is it necessary to alter its articles of association?
Why please ask this question? Companies are not forced to alter their articles of association to comply with the new articles. But if you are going to make any changes in the articles, then those changes have to comply with the new articles. So you are not forced to comply with the new articles, that is, you are not forced, the existing companies are not required to have the new set of articles now, not compulsory. But if you are going to make any changes in the existing articles, then you have to change the articles to comply with the new companies. That's how it is.
Finding out maybe fraud, maybe deficiencies in the financial reporting system. Now I will emphasize at this level, this accounting part now has been shifted to reporting part. Globally, we are no exception to that. Penalty levied to the auditing firms, ranging from Debashish 1 lakh to officer. You please take note of these things. Company secretaries now have been redesignated as a compliance officer, and they have to furnish compliance certificates in case by mistake, by pressure of work, by pressure of legal things, some mistake somewhere takes place inadvertently, perhaps they would also be required to be brought under some kind of insurance protection. This is what I think that we should vigorously now pursue at the same time, this professional kind of risk insurance for auditors, corporate executives, directors, maybe company secretaries, certifying all the documents as compliance officer. Earlier it was not there. And another thing which was not discussed in this course, perhaps you are not aware of it, very severe act has been legislated in the year 2011, and some of which have been incorporated in our maybe rules or maybe in their chartered accountants audit course. We call it Whistleblower Act 2011. In their auditing guidelines also, auditors' guidelines, how the auditor should behave, there are mentioned about the Whistleblower Act. Somebody will blow the whistle, and auditor may be asked to meet the kind of things he has been raising. The auditor should have to be answerable for this course.
So after having so very interesting lecture, I don't have anything to say, but then only I can compliment sir and Mr. Debashish Mitra that the way Debashish Mitra taught us accounting and auditing is marvelous. Actually, this is one of the, we say it is a very boring subject, but then in the way he delivered, it is